guys for Porotos and One Podcast. This is Stranded in Tanzania, and I'm your host, Poody. And today we're joined by three of the Porotos who infamously made a huge impact on this season. I think they were the stars and underdogs of the seasons, the heroes, protagonists, but we'll get their side of the story from how they interpreted their season. Did you guys have any idea? I guess we'll start off with John. Did you guys have any idea that you were kind of the fan favorites, or were you not even focused on that?
I had absolutely no idea. I thought that people would actually be mad about the Lauren thing.
Well, I mean, it wasn't our favorite move.
We'll find out, I guess. But yeah, I thought people would not have liked that. I have no idea. And I'm still waiting to see what the remaining podcasts are going to say. But it seems they were overly positive. No,
I think we were all pretty much in agreement on that. Alison, you were someone else who, for as popular as John and Kara were in the early season, I think towards the end of the merge, you were really giving John a run for his money in both popularity and some would say gameplay, some would not.
That's super hard for me to believe because at that time still I was like, I had no idea what was going on still. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like John was the reason that I learned how to play the game.
That's giving me way too much credit.
It's really not though. Like I would be like, this is what I'm thinking. And if he didn't think it was a good idea, I didn't do it. And the only time that I didn't listen to him, I screwed him over and trusted Aaron.
Kara, you were so close to winning, one vote away. I think, even I was listening to the host podcast, which we didn't release yet, that finale weekend. And I think most of us thought you would win, and we were kind of rooting for you to win. Do you feel like you were robbed of the win?
Well, that's tricky because, I guess I feel like I was a deserving winner had I won. But the main thing about the win that bothered me was that after reading back, Aaron's confessionals, he was all like, Kara doesn't deserve to win, but she's probably going to win. So I guess that idea of people's outlook on me not being a deserving winner is more upsetting than not winning, I guess, in that sense.
Mm-hmm. So I guess let's talk about the overall Poroto journey. You guys came into the merge really with a huge target. And of course, you had Jack on your side at that time, and Angelina was not. And somewhere along the way, Jack flipped back to the Nairi guys, or Miyumbo, whatever they were, and away from you guys. And then you kind of gained Angelina after the whole Missy thing. How devastating was it? I guess we'll start by talking about Angelina leaving and how that might have affected your end game. Let's talk to John, who I think was most directly affected by that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know if I would have stood a chance without that happening, but I feel like it definitely screwed up a lot of the plans that we had. So I know that the intention was to use the idol that she had to take somebody else out, and when it was immediately removed, and then I think the numbers were low enough that Kara really needed to, at least felt like she needed to do something to make a move. So it put us in a pretty difficult situation, but I feel like it was a lot more complicated to get to that point. So it wasn't just as straightforward as hey, we had Jack and then we didn't. And then we had Angelina after not having her before. I think the first vote was pretty convoluted, where essentially we had 7 people and then we lost 2 people to the other group and we had 2 jump over to our side. And then it was just absolute chaos through there. But, yeah, I don't really know if that ruined my chances, but it really depended on if Alison and Kara were telling the truth to me, right? And I think one of them was.
Kara, you had other plans, I think, right?
Yeah, I definitely was thinking about voting out John, unfortunately, a little before that. I think the second he had told me that he had sent Jessica the idol, I was like, whoa, this guy's playing a really big game. And it was kind of threatening, I guess, in that sense. I knew he was playing outside of playing with me. So I kind of saw that threat level and I was like, okay, I got to start thinking further into the end game now.
But you and John and Jessica had an alliance on Nairi, yeah?
Yeah, we did. So that was why it was also confusing that he wouldn't tell me that was something that he did, that led me to believe that he was playing a lot bigger than just him and I,
Understood. I just thought you knew did you know he had the idol?
I never told her that. So
okay, I didn't know.
So yeah, the reason that came up is because Carl's shenanigans, telling everybody that I had it. So I was afraid it was going to blow up. So I figured it was better coming from me than coming from anybody else. And I still think it was, but I understand how that would lose some trust there. It's unfortunate, but I feel like if Carl brought it up to everybody else, then it would have been a lot worse.
Yeah, I think Carl was probably your biggest stepping stone in the game. You know, I think getting him out was the best move for you, John. Mainly because he was coming after you so hard from even before the merge. Before he really, I think, knowing that you took out Davey, he couldn't get over that, and he had assumed
that was ridiculous because that was not me. Both people that are here will tell you that I was pushing hard against that.
That was definitely me.
Yeah, that was your big move, Kara. So after John leaves, it's really just you and Alison. Were you guys, I mean, I know you were still in an alliance, but were you planning on working together to get to the end, or was it kind of like everybody for themselves now?
Kara messaged me and tried to smooth things over after the John vote, but I felt more trusting of Tommy at the time. And I probably would have made that decision again anyway.
Yeah, I definitely think I had a good read on that. I realized Alison was probably leaning a little bit closer with Tommy, and I had just voted out like her number one ally, so I didn't think she would actually be willing to work with me. And I think had I told her that I had the idol before the vote, she could have went to Tommy and said, Kara's going to idol me. She wants to vote you out. So let's just vote Kara and let her play the idol on me. Like, that was a situation that I didn't want to be in with my idol.
And I can totally understand that. But if you had played that idol on me like you said you were going to in that tribal, I would not have voted you out next. I would have taken you to the final three with me and Tommy. That would have been Aaron would have.
Yeah, and definitely looking back, I think I should have played the idol, but like I can see why I didn't do it in the moment.
I can totally understand why you didn't, because I wasn't changing my vote to Tommy.
Yeah, I think that moment you'll hear back when you hear some of the end game podcasts from the host, but that was really like the moment we thought that you probably didn't win the game. Of course, you still had a good shot, but I think if you had played an idol at that council for someone other than yourself, I think you would have solidified your win in the final tribal.
Yeah, there's like 100 what ifs running through my head about that tribal, so it's definitely going to haunt me at night.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it, we gave you a lot of shit in the podcast, which you'll hear, but I don't think ultimately playing it on yourself hurt you. I think it was just like a wasted opportunity to gain some jury votes at that really crucial tribal council heading into like the finals. But again, you never know, like, is playing an idol at the final six then going to make you number one target if you screw up everyone's plans, So it's kind of it's a hard place to be in. John, from your perspective, you ended up voting for Kara to win, but your vote was a little up in the air. What were you thinking, having been betrayed by Kara at Final Tribal?
I mean, everybody lied to me pretty badly in the same kind of light. Kara was the worst in terms of how much I had trusted her in the past, I guess, before that happened. That's not to say it was like too brutal. I mean, it was definitely surprising, but we had some conversations about her relationship with Nick before on that day. And I didn't feel that comfortable with her after, but yeah, I didn't really appreciate how that all went down, but I got over it fairly quickly. That said, Aaron and Jack also lied to me, so it was a pretty even playing field. I also thought Jack played a much better game than anyone gave him credit for, and I thought that I said to everybody Aaron was going to win if we didn't get rid of him. So I said that right after Dean left. So it's kind of funny that that's kind of what happened. But yeah, it was most impressive that she was able to keep the target completely off her back. So everybody was saying how great I was, which I still think I played a pretty good, solid game and all that. But like, I wasn't able to keep the target off me. She was. So that's much more impressive to me, at least, being able to make it through the entire journey without having really risk of you heading out. So I thought that was more impressive than anything that anybody else in the game did. And that's why I thought she deserved to win.
So I want to talk to John a little bit about what it was like at the merge, overcoming all of the different... I mean, really, you guys went into the merge with 4 people and one of them flipped on you immediately, yet somehow you guys were still able to push through. Do you think it was just by having like a small group of people that really trusted each other, the 3 of you? And is there anything, I guess, what was the secret to y'all's success in that way? I
mean, I think it helped that we were all able to, I like to think we all liked each other, which was a plus compared to some of the other groups, actually compared to both the other groups. So that helped quite a bit. It also helped that people came after us that kind of forced us to work together, which sounds pretty weird, but it made it to a point where like we didn't have as many options. So if everybody's lying to us, we have to stick together. So like I was going around to when we actually all joined up, I went to Dan and Carl, who I had worked with kind of before the swap happened, and they wanted pretty much nothing to do with me. So when I realized that, my options are pretty limited. So let's make something happen with the people that wanted to. And that was the group that we had of 4, and then Angelina and Missy, and to an extent Dan. And then at the final 13, that made it pretty evident that we were in kind of a poor situation and we had to do something about it. But we all thought we were in okay shape. And then obviously everybody lied to us and it was absolute chaos there. I absolutely don't regret keeping Jack. I don't know how the other two feel, but he obviously alerted us that Alison was in danger, which made us save her. So it was kind of absolute madness and chaos because of the relationships everybody else had. But because we were able to work together and trust each other, we were able to maneuver a little bit further into the game than most people probably expected us to. It also helped that a lot of other people did some absolutely crazy things that I did not expect to happen. But thanks, Nick and Tommy.
Alison, from your perspective, people really viewed you as like as playing one of the better social games where, maybe strategically you weren't as intense as some of the other people, but you certainly had really good connections with all sides. At different points, were you debating on turning on Poroto? And what ultimately led you to stay loyal to those guys? I
don't think there was a time that I ever thought to turn on them. I mean, I voted for Kara at the end even. They were my homies. So yeah, I played a big social game in that. I just stuck true to that. Tommy kind of slithered his way into my homie group. That's why, I don't know. If I had to choose between him and John, it would have been the worst time of my life.
Hope you wouldn't have thought about it too much.
Were you the one that, maybe I'm thinking of someone else, but I know Elizabeth was temporarily on Poroto. Were you the one that she switched tribes with to get?
Yes, she saved my game.
Yeah, because I can't imagine how different the game would be, even because the Poroto tribe was so close and the other ones were so divided. I don't know that you would have gotten as close
I don't think I would have even made it to the merge in the other group, because that was Angelina and Missy, and Tommy was on there, so I might have became friends with him then, but I don't know that would have been enough to save me from.
I think that would have made that group even worse because Dan and you were going to go after each other.
Yeah.
But we would have been rooting for you completely. You would have been the best on that tribe.
Duh.
Kara, were you guys close on the original Nairi, or was this something that just really solidified on Poroto?
With John or Alison?
Either one. I guess I know you and Alison were a little bit closer than, you and John were closer, and then Kara, you were all over the place on the original Nairi.
Yeah, I definitely was closer with John. I think with Alison, we had the Black Widow lines, but you guys probably seen I wasn't a big fan of that just because I found that group a little, I don't know, I was willing to work with them for numbers' sake, but I wasn't really fully invested in that group. But then I think the Poroto really solidified my relationship with Alison. I really trusted her going forward after that.
What about from your perspective, Alison?
So in the Black Widow, Jessica and I had talked about how we didn't really trust Kara or Angelina just because Kara was playing a really good game. It was not personal at all. So when I got on Poroto with her, I was excited because, she was playing a good game. So I had 2 good people. But then I don't really know what happened. I don't know if it was because we didn't talk much, or what, but I just gradually after the merge lost trust in her. And I hate to say that because she was just now, I trusted Alison a lot and I feel bad, but it was just a vibe I got. So I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely did trust you a lot, which is why I was a little confused seeing back that I lost some of that trust. I didn't know exactly what happened or what I did, but yeah, I trusted you. I didn't see you turning on me in that sense, I guess.
Well, to be fair, I never gunned for you in a vote or anything. I think there was one time we thought that you and Nick were really close and thought one of you had the idol and we were going to, try to get either one of you out or idled out. But that was that was before John was out. So maybe final.
Yeah, my opinion of that was get rid of Nick to be closer to Kara, not the other way around.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
That's a big myth. Nick and I, we weren't even that close. It's kind of funny looking back, but yeah.
We thought for sure you all were super tight. Or I did anyway.
I think I just gave him coins the first week when we had that first coin challenge. So we always had that kind of bond, but we were never super gaming with each other, I guess.
John, John, I didn't realize how close you were to Jessica, to the point where you felt like you had to throw her the idol during that tribal, which was the right move. Unfortunately, she didn't play the idol, something she probably regrets to this day. But I guess I didn't realize you had ties with a lot of the women who were in an alliance, as well as, some of the guys.
Well, I didn't ask anyone to be in a group. Everybody asked me. So I was technically with everybody except for, I think the only one I wasn't technically with was Angelina and Christian. And everybody else had asked me to join something. But I think I had like a solid relationship with Kara at the beginning. And I think that the group that Alison made with Jessica also kind of signaled that we were kind of together. And then because Jessica was in both these groups, I felt a lot more comfortable with her talking about the plans between like what we should do and who we should kind of focus on more and who we should trust more. So that kind of built the relationship between us. So yeah, I felt like I think I wrote very early that I actually considered Jessica my number one. And that changed. Actually, it didn't change at all. It changed, I guess, when she was voted out, obviously. I felt like obviously very, very close with Alison as we continue to talk more, and Kara as well. So it was a situation that I never wanted to have to vote between either of them. But again, like it also helped that all of the dudes on the orange group after the swap had like no interest in wanting to work with me. So it made it really, really easy for me to be like, hey, we need to stick together. And I was all for that because that was obviously the best bet for me to get further, but also because I enjoyed talking to them and working with them.
Yeah. Kara, you made that early move to get rid of Davey over Christian. And then you were hoping to drag Christian along as like an extra vote. Did you have a good friendship with Christian, or was it more like you knew he wasn't going to be a threat and an extra number for you?
My game wasn't really based at all on like the GOAT thing. Like I'm not a big fan of that style of gameplay. So I think a lot of it was actually my relationship with Christian. Like he was really nice whenever I talked to him. And then like I talked to him more than Davey and I trusted him more than Davey. So I'm like, why vote out Davey now when we could just keep Christian, right? So that was my idea with that move.
And then, of course, on Poroto, you guys voted out Karishma, which was probably an easy vote. And then it came down to Jack and Christian. Kara having been probably the closest to Christian, but also I think Alison made a pretty good bond with Christian. Was it purely the respect of keeping Jack over someone who was less active that led you guys to want to keep Jack with you? I guess we'll go to Alison first.
So this was one of those moments where John was right and I was wrong. There's a lot of those. I really wanted to keep Christian because I knew that he would be loyal to us later on. Mm-hmm. But Jack messaged me this like, I promise that I won't turn back to my other teammates. Like I'm in this. You all have made me feel so safe and liked. And that was kind of the vibe on that tribe. It was just, a feel good vibe. And he went along with that. So when Christian made that error, well, I think at that point, John and Kara were already going to vote Christian. And when Christian made that typo, I freaked out because I was like, oh my gosh, I have trusted someone that I shouldn't have.
The infamous typo where he used the pronoun she. Because, of course, in French, they use she instead of, for like everything. Everything, yeah, the feminine pronoun. But it made you guys think, who is she? Who's he targeting?
Yeah, it made me freak out. So I changed my vote. I don't know if Kara changed her vote or not, or if she initially voted for Christian.
I think John and Kara had voted for Christian.
But like John said, it was the right move. Like I hated to do it, but it was the right move because Jack did prove to be helpful later on.
Kara, from your perspective?
I definitely thought about voting out Jack, but voting out Chris. What am I even saying? I definitely thought about voting out Jack, but I really respected that he was on more than Christian, and I thought Christian would be more of a GOAT, and I wasn't really a fan of that style of gameplay, like I said before, so I definitely wanted to keep Jack and give him that shot in the merge. But I did go to him right away. I'm like, I don't want to keep you, but because I think you're going to turn on us, but like, tell me you're not going to turn on us right now. So that was my thing with Jack.
And look, straight up, he did lie to us multiple times, and he kept saying that he wanted to. He said me and Dean were the closest people he was with, yet he voted for me twice. So clearly he wasn't like gung-ho about wanting to stay with us. And that was pretty obvious after the fact. That being said, I still don't really regret the decision for a multitude of reasons. But I also, from my perspective, I thought Christian didn't like me because I tried to get rid of him the first time. Whether or not that was true, I'm not sure. But also after reading his like after hearing his first impression in the application he sent in where he was planning to backstab and make crazy moves. I don't know if I think he would have been any more loyal than Jack was. So maybe I'm wrong on that point. But I know that both of the two girls were more close to him than I was.
Well, it's interesting because your tribe just made moves that felt right to you guys. Whereas I think, maybe on paper, the smarter move is to keep guy that's a goat and an extra vote for you, But if you had a stronger connection with Jack and he was around more, he was telling you he was going to work with you after the merge, I don't think it's a terrible move. Certainly from a hosting perspective, we love that you guys got rid of Christian. I know everyone lurking loved that too, just because he was less active. So I think it was interesting that Poroto was making these moves as a unit, like to keep this alliance strong. Whereas I think all the other tribes were splitting apart, backstabbing each other, voting strictly down tribal lines. Of course, not Missy, but,
Well, dude, it's completely ridiculous to think like we knew what was going on over there. We had no idea. So when reading confessionals and all that about, oh, yeah, we got to break up these people because they were together before, like we had no idea what was going on other people's groups, and making an assumption would only come back to bite you. And it did come back to bite some people. So,
well, I think you're right about that. I think a lot of people, you can look at Dean and Aaron's confessionals. They were confused every time someone was voted out. How did that person get voted out instead of, because they were playing, assuming that everyone was going to stay loyal to them, which was not the case. I think you guys actually did the right move in strengthening your small tribe going into a merge. And I think that paid off for you guys. Certainly it made you very endearing to everyone watching. Is there anything else you guys wanted to clear up? Maybe some controversies that you've read or heard in podcasts that might have been inaccurate?
I want to clear up that I did not play the game for Alison. She made her own decisions. So she knew what she was doing, whatever she says. I definitely did not walk her through everything. So I appreciate anyone who said that I played well, but everybody that was on our group did plenty on their own.
He was my main motivation, period.
No, I appreciate that. But I just that's one thing I do want to clear up. Reading through your confessional made me laugh quite a bit. You're acting like you had no idea what you're doing, but I'm sure that was not the case, especially from talking to you.
I swear that wasn't an act. Like, for the first half of the game, I had no idea what I was doing.
No, I believe Alison was...
Everyone's like, yeah, I'm sure you didn't know, but I really did.
I would say it's not that she didn't know what she was doing. I think she was playing with her heart over her head. You know what I'm saying? She was definitely going with what who she got good vibes off of and making decisions that way. Not so much maybe the best strategic decisions, but I do think that there is merit to having a strong social game, even if there's no strategy behind it at all. If Alison makes it to the final three, she probably wins significantly. So, that's not necessarily a bad thing.
I definitely agree with that.
That's just how I do normal life. So no strategy, just feelings.
Then you had Kara's kind of hilarious confessional about how the hell did she win best strategist?
Yeah, that definitely confused me. Reading back that challenge and seeing that she was named, she was good at the game, but I didn't see lots of strategy or wheels turning there. So I was a little bit confused when she was deemed most strategic. But they're the king of bad reads, so got to give it to them.
It also confused me. If that, it's fine.
I just think those guys were so bad at reading any situation. I mean, really, they totally missed the mark. I mean, no shade to Alison, but she was not the strategic force behind Poroto.
Yeah, speaking of bad reads, I have no idea how anyone thought Kara was under the radar. I just don't get that at all.
I do think she didn't talk to people outside of Poroto as much as Alison did, or even you, John. I think she was talking to you guys a lot more. And I do think we talked about this a lot. I think, Kara came out of the gate swinging and made some great moves and then kind of went under the radar, which is okay. That's not bad strategy. I think she lacked that one last little move at the very end to solidify the win, because I think if she had that, it would not have been close at all. I think she would have gotten 6 votes, versus 3. So do you have an answer to that, Kara?
Yeah, I was just going to say that I definitely feel like I lacked the impulse to make the moves towards the end of the game, because I was in such a good spot that I was kind of I'm in the final 3 regardless of what happens right now. So let me just coast a bit more, And I think that definitely cost me in the end. I do think, however, though, that I maybe could have got a couple more votes had I dug in on Aaron a bit more. I let him get off easy at Final Tribal.
Yeah, I think that, you do need, let me put it this way. I think in the final three, all of the players were pretty even. Obviously Jack he said he was a GOAT, so it was going to be harder for him, but even Jack had a decent shot at winning. I think the final three were all pretty even though I think Kara had better reads the whole season than Aaron, and I think played better. I don't know. It's hard because I think Aaron played the best game from like final 7 on, right? And I think Kara played a better game leading up to that point. But I think if Kara just had one more move, or even just grandstanding a little bit more, I know she made the push to get rid of Jack, but I think had she pulled that off, even getting rid of Jack, that would have given her something at the final tribal to say, like, look, I did this, instead of like, I think you kind of held on to the pre-merge stuff. And I don't know if that plays too well in a jury.
Yeah, definitely. And I see 100% why I lost. Like, I get it. It sucks that it's by 1 vote, but I definitely see why everything happened, and I know what I would do different in the future.
Yeah, and to your credit, you were the first boot in Isolated, so it's not like you had a ton of experience going into Stranded, but you were able to use your mistakes in that game and really make a great run. I mean, you almost won, so kudos to you on that.
Thank you so much, and thanks for the second chance.
Allison, if you had to play again, what mistakes that you have made would you try to correct in the next game?
Ooh, that's a good question. So I would probably still play a very social game, probably still have a lot of feelings just because that's who I am as a person, and I don't think I can change that. But I think that I would be a little more leery, and I probably wouldn't do as well because I would be a little more leery about trusting. Like, I probably wouldn't trust anybody. You know what I mean? Like, unless somebody had just clicked with me like John or Jessica did, I probably would be like, I don't know, I think you're playing me, to everybody. So I'd probably make more mistakes. Like, it'd probably take 3 times to really, hone in on the traits that I would need to actually win a game.
And John, I just want to talk to you because you had mentioned this in the reunion and in your confessional, but you've been playing these things for a very long time, probably something like 8 years, something like that. And you've played a lot of games for a lot of really good hosts against a lot of really good players. But you said Stranded was a completely different experience and something more personal than you're used to. I thought you did really well in Stranded. I guess first question is, would you play again? And just how was your experience overall?
Would I play again? Good luck convincing me. We'll say that. Maybe I'll say that, but probably won't have time. It just worked out due to the quarantine, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, possibly. I have no idea. Probably not though. But I had a blast. It was awesome, and it was a completely different experience. Like I started. I think my first game was like 2006. So it was a long, long time ago. That's 14 years ago. And I haven't played consistently in 8 or 9 years. I play like one every year, every 2 years now. And the games now are completely different. So it's basically, you're not really getting to know people in the same light that you are here. So the fact that the people that were here were real, and they were very I guess a bunch of diverse personalities that you got the opportunity to interact with, made it extremely interesting in terms of coming to the board every day to talk to them and try to figure out what the next course of action was. Yeah, really, really enjoyed it. But I came in with a completely different perception of what we were going to get into. So I kind of had to change my entire strategy, which kind of made it more fun having to figure out what I was doing as it went. Because I don't think anybody knew exactly what they were getting into. You have to be very adaptable.
Yeah, I think, the only thing I can accurately compare it to is like a really old school org back in like the very early days. And we try to keep it similar to that, but it's so much more intense now, even than it was 5 years ago. IM systems changed the game.
Can I add something?
Sure.
I would practice every kind of challenge possible because I don't think you all noticed, but I sucked at them all. So I need to do better there, period.
We noticed.
Yeah, for sure. We noticed.
At least you beat Aaron on a couple of them, though.
Thank God.
I was pretty bad on most of them too, honestly. So it wasn't just you, but for some reason, everybody thought I was amazing.
I just think I give your season a lot of shit for being bad strategically and at challenges. But truly, you guys set records for some of the worst challenge performances. So you're in good company on that overall. I don't have any more questions. If there's any more thoughts that you guys have, feel free to chime in.
Yeah, I hope you bring these two back. They both Both deserve another shot.
Well, I think that you guys all have your big fans that are rooting to see you again for sure. All right. Well, I want to thank you guys for taking the time out to talk to me. I think you guys were my favorites to watch. I think most of the people lurking would agree. Of course, a lot of people this season were super entertaining. So I think everyone kind of had their fans, but the consensus was that you guys were the top of our fan favorite list overall. And I think that was well deserved. I really enjoyed seeing a positive group of people who really got along and supported one another, even in this cutthroat game. So
seriously, thanks for having us. It was awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. This was so much fun.
All right, well, I think that's going to do it for the PorotoCast. We look forward to seeing you guys in the community at the very least, even if you don't end up playing again, even though I'm sure we'll get you sometime. It's kind of like the island on Lost, you know. You can escape for a while, but sooner or later we get you back in. So I'm sure we'll see you again in some capacity, but in the meantime, we look forward to seeing you around. And you guys were awesome, so kudos. Bye.
Later. No idea how to leave this thing.